Alright guys, here we are, episode 3 of Ape's How-To. I'm going to show you how to do headlight restoration the dry way, mostly dry, with the 3M kit. You can buy them like this one, pretty cheap. I think I bought this one on eBay or something. I think it was like 12 or 13 bucks. All you need is, they say electric drill. I actually probably will use the air one just because it's easier for me. But let's get into it. Okay guys, so here's the kit. It comes with a pad that goes on your drill, your buffer, or whatever what you're going to use to power. Then it comes with a bunch of different sandpapers. I believe some 500, some 800, and then this Trizact disc. There's only one of, and you want to use that one wet. And then your final polishing is going to be with the foam pad and the polishing compound that comes in it. So we're going to start off with the first, which is a 500 disc. Just put it on our drill. One thing we want to do is make sure I washed this car yesterday, but we want to make sure it's extra clean. So this is just soapy water. Give it a nice clean spray. Scrub any other contaminants, any bugs, anything you can. Give it a good scrub. You're not going to scratch it at this point because we're going to scratch it a lot worse with these discs, and then we'll start to polish it back out. See, even that pulled some dirt out. Okay. So, since this is a dry kit, you do it mostly dry. The only disc is that Trizact disc, which is 3000, you do wet. So all you do is you start the process of sanding. You don't want to do it too fast. You don't want to stop moving, because what happens is, with these dry kits, it's really easy to buff down into that lens and damage it. So you got to be real careful. You want to hold your drill or your grinder or whatever you're using flat. You don't want to get up on the edge of it, because you'll put a groove in that lens that you can't get back out. This isn't necessarily my preferred method, but I have a wet video on my 2006 GTO that's going to actually be out before this one. So you can actually watch both methods and compare. Okay, so after the first pass, what you're kind of looking for is you want the dust, if you can really see it there, you want the dust to turn white. If it's still coming off yellow, it definitely needs some more sanding with the first 500. This is definitely still pretty yellow, so what I'm going to do is clean it off real quick, probably replace that pad, and then get back after it. Be real careful as you're getting up on your edges, because you want to tape around these really good, because these sanding discs will they will scratch your paint. So you got to be very careful along these edges here to not let it get through that tape. There's actually 2 layers of tape on here, and there's very likely that I'll put 3 on it before I'm done, because it's already starting to catch it and do things to it. It hasn't gone through anywhere, but I definitely don't want it to, because we don't want to damage the paint while we're fixing the headlight. So again, we just take a little bit of soapy water, give it a nice rub down, just kind of get all that debris that we've sanded off that light off. You kind of see a little bit of yellow tinge in it. So we definitely need to sand a little more. We want to get all that yellow off before we start into the next step. The first step is the most critical because it's the one that really starts to cut it. Beyond the first step, you're starting to polish it back out. So make sure that the dust coming off of it or what's on your rag, when you're ready to go to the next step after the very first one, you want that rag to start to make sure that it's coming out white. So get back in here, grab another. I think they give you 3 500 discs per headlight. So don't be scared to use them. They tend to wear out fairly quick. Place the disc. While you're doing this too, you don't want to overheat the lens. You'll actually feel your tool start to bog down a little bit if you get the lens too hot, so you want to make sure you keep moving. But here I'm just kind of brushing it away to make sure I got all the edges, trying to get as close to the edge of those shiny spots as I can. You're only going to get it so close. Again, you don't want to hit the paint, so it's better to get it as close as you can and not get the paint than right up to the edge and mess the paint up. Now you can see that the dust is just plain white. So I'm pretty happy with this finish. I'll take it and wipe it down real good, and then we'll switch discs and move on to the next step, which is the 800 grit. Okay, so that's all. Still with 500. We're going to give it another good wash. Take our clean rag. Now we can see that it doesn't look yellow anymore. It's starting to just look nice and white. Obviously, it's far from done, but it's definitely looking better, and it'll just continue to get better with every step. So I've replaced the disc with the next size up, which is 800. Kind of tough to see there the way it's cut. And we'll check it and wipe it down again. See what it looks like. See if the scratches are looking fairly uniform. Alright, starting to get clearer already. Okay, so I actually just ran another disc over that. So that's 2 discs with the 500 and 2 discs with the 800. Got a nice uniform looking finish to it, so we're now ready to move on to the wet. Okay, so for the wet we do this Trizact disc. It's kind of thicker than the other, foam 3000. We stick that on the same pad we've been using in our drill. What you want to do with this is you want to really wet down that headlight. You want to keep keeping it wet, so it's good to have a good sized bottle. And same thing with the disc. You want to get that thing good and wet and keep it wet. So same procedure. You just put it up against it. Kind of check our progress with that clean towel. Just wipe it off. Boy, and she's starting to shine up nice now. Definitely looking better than it did when we started. Take a little of that soapy water. Let's give it another wipe down just to kind of gauge if we want to do some more. Okay, so this is where we get it all wet again, get that disc. I kind of take it, kind of clean it off because you'll get some stuff falling out of it. Everything good and wet again. Quick look at it, wipe it off, see where we're at. That thing's looking 100% better. Most of y'all probably think this is a good time to quit. For 2 steps, I take this 1 step past the 3M kit with another one of their products to make it last. But once I polish it up, it'll look brand new, but 1 step beyond that, 1 step beyond this kit. Okay, so we pull off our Trizact disc, put on our orange foam pad, stick that on there, get the supplied polish. Just put a couple drops on the pad. Just gonna start with, just get it like that, something like that. Set it to the side. Get my air hose. All right. This stuff's kind of runny. I've kind of put it on the lens all the way across, just so it doesn't drip and fling everywhere before I actually start the polishing. Water in this step, but I do take a pretty new cloth that doesn't have I know it doesn't have any oil on it or never gotten oily, and I'll kind of just buff it back just to kind of see where I'm at in the polishing stage. You can see it looks almost like new. I'm gonna buff it one more time, see how it turns out. Quick wipe down, see where we're at. Oh yeah, she looks pretty much like new again. And this is where the 3M kit pretty much wants you to stop and peel the tape off and do the other side and move on, but I have added a step. We'll set that up here and be back with you. Alright guys, so we're finally clean, everything's shined out, things looking like brand new. So for the final step, I'm going to add this 3M protective film over it. It does kind of dull it a little bit, but since I'm not really wanting to polish these anytime soon again, I'm okay with that, as long as it doesn't refract the light or give me any crazy waves or patterns. This will help with the rock chips that we buffed out and everything in between, and is supposed to keep the clarity in that lens instead of just leaving it exposed to the elements. So let's start with that. Alright, so with a little pushing and pulling, there's the install with the film. I usually like to set these outside in the sun for a day or two. It kind of gets a little bit of haziness. You kind of get a little bit of water always trapped behind it. And I like to come back around the edges and make sure they're nice and smooth. This one went pretty well. But we'll get the final video and the final thoughts on it once it's all been out in the sun for a day or so.
Alright, so here's a couple days after, so all the water has evaporated out of the 3M headlight protective film, and these headlights literally look brand new. This was using the 3M dry method with their little wax in their package, like 13 bucks off Amazon, and some of the 3M protective film to cover it up, which is obviously the best way, because I've tried using clear coat and they just yellow and turn crappy again pretty quick. So this is your best method to restore your headlights and keep them looking good for a long time. Thanks for watching. Rock Ape How-Tos.